Well, people gathered here tonight. I want you to listen to me. You're left. You're right. We've got some pretty soily company right here
I
on the
knew it.
show tonight.
I knew it.
This is Talk More Talk, a solo Beatles videocast. Hi, 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 and hey, hey, everybody. I'm Ken Michaels, one of the four regular co-hosts of this show, where we talk exclusively about the solo careers of the Beatles. We do this every 2 weeks right here at this time on YouTube, Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. And hopefully you're aware of the other shows that I do on the Beatles. There's another talk show podcast called Things We Said Today, which is also bi-weekly. And there's a syndicated radio show on the Beatles called Every Little Thing. Plus, I have my own YouTube channel called Ken Michaels Radio that is exclusive with Beatles content. And I'm being joined by my three regular co-hosts here, my compadres here on the air. First of all, we have Kit O'Toole, the queen of Beatles social media and the queen of Beatles backdrops. And she's best known for her books called Songs We Were Singing, Guided Tours of the Beatles' lesser known tracks, Michael Jackson FAQ, All That's Left to Know About the King of Pop. I wish her titles would be shorter. Also, there's Fandom and the Beatles. That's a short one that she worked on with our colleague Ken Womack. You also know her for being a freelance writer. She writes for Beatle Fan. She's also part of another Beatles podcast show called Toppermost of the Poppermost, and she does lots of music seminars online, and it's always great to have her with us every single show. Every single show.
Every single one.
I'm being Ed Sullivan tonight. Kit, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Ken. Hi, Tom. Hi, Joe. Hi, everybody out there. And a happy birthday tomorrow to Paul.
Yes.
Yes.
We all have our McCartney shirts on.
That's right.
Nope.
Oh,
I don't have.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I couldn't get to one. I did look, but I got my Tulsa, Oklahoma shirt on.
Is that a
no. Oklahoma was never like this.
No.
Yeah.
That's why he's wearing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right.
Tom Lignotti's with us, of course, one half of the team with Danny Nichols of Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast, always cranking out new shows and just did a great show, which is, I'm going to be referring to it a few times tonight. He and Andy interviewed Adrian Sinclair, who collaborated with Alan Kozin on the McCartney Legacy series. That's volume 1. Volume 2 is coming out in December. And it's all about the topic that we're going to discuss tonight, which I'll get to in just a moment. Hi, Tom.
And Michaels, hello. Good to see you. Queen, Joe, good to see
Hey.
you too as well. And another fun topic. And let's get going.
Yeah. And he's right on the ball wearing that shirt tonight. We should all be wearing that shirt. Always pay careful attention to what Tom's wearing in particular.
No.
Joe Mayo's with us. Of course, he has his own YouTube channel, Mean Mr. Mayo, which pretty much covers everything. It's not just the Beatles channel, but there's lots of Beatles content on there. He reviews albums. He rates tracks on albums. He has his own rants. He reviews movies, a lot of things in the entertainment field. Goes around to a record store and shows you what he's been buying and all kinds of surprises on it.
Yeah.
You never know what's in store. You could say you can call it surprise, surprise on his show whenever he's on. Hi, Joe.
Hello,
Yeah.
Ken. Hey, how you doing? Hey, Tom, Kit. How is everybody? Good? Ready for this?
Yep.
Oh, we're more than ready.
Yeah, we're ready
Yeah.
tonight.
Teddy. Last
Mhm.
Friday, this baby came out. We've been hearing about for quite a while.
I get
And
mine too.
we're going to be talking about this. It's our main topic tonight. 2 CDs also came out on vinyl, as Tom is illustrating right there, with bonus material as well. And a lot of great things we're going to be talking about concerning this release called One Hand Clapping from Paul and Wings. And is that for the backyard tape? What is
That's
that?
the 7-inch EP that came with the exclusive on the paulmccartney.com 2
Okay.
LP set.
All right.
That's what it looks like.
So
Nice.
that's the backyard tapes material, right?
That's the Backyards tapes. Yeah. So
And
you
that's
got
what I
3
forgot
songs
to.
on each side. Yeah.
Right.
I didn't brush up. I didn't get it. I didn't get it that way because I didn't get it online. But I forgot to
Yeah.
brush up on the Backyard tape,
Hmm.
so I don't know much. I don't remember much.
I got the CD. I'm sure I'm going to get those 6 songs in the best quality soon.
Yes.
Had it on boot for many years. But
Mhm.
as usual, all of our shows have Beatle news, and we got a bit of it to get to tonight. Not as much as some of my long broadcasts, but quite a lot to get to. First of all, as I'm sure, hopefully, you've heard, Paul McCartney has announced that he will continue his Got Back tour with 6 dates in South America, running from October 1st through the 27th, with shows in Uruguay, Argentina, Chile, and Peru. Originally, he had 5 dates scheduled, but he just added a third date in Argentina. And he just announced that he'll be doing 8 dates in Europe in December from the 4th to the 19th, beginning with 2 concerts in France, then 2 in Spain, and 4 in the UK, 2 of which are in Manchester, the last 2 at the O2 in London. Interesting that he's not playing Liverpool as of yet.
Well, I mean, let's wait and see. I mean, I'm sure another surprise or two could appear.
Yeah, you never know. His website actually says keep an eye out for more news coming soon.
Yeah.
All I know is my wife and I cannot arrange a vacation. We're November
Right.
comes, keep it clear, just in case
Right.
it plays the US. All right. It has not been confirmed yet, but rumor has it that the 4 actors have been chosen to play the Beatles in the upcoming Sam Mendes biopic on the group. They are considered to be among the best young talent in Hollywood. Harris Dickinson, tapped to play John Lennon, is known for his roles in The Kingsmen and The Iron Claw. Paul Mescal, rumored to play Paul McCartney, will soon be starring in Gladiator 2. Barry Cohen, Keoghan, reportedly is playing Ringo Starr. He made his name with Dunkirk and Saltburn. And Charlie Rowe, rumored to play George Harrison, appeared in the film Rocket Man. The biopic will be a 4-part film event, and each film told from the perspective of each band member. It's expected to start production next year, with a release in 2027. Remember, Sony has yet to confirm the casting news. It's not absolutely definite
I
yet.
hope so. I hope it's not confirmed.
Mhm.
I just like the idea of unknowns. That's all. That's just my thing because you might associate them with the actors.
Are unknowns. They are unknowns,
Yeah,
probably
they're
to
not.
you though, right?
Well, yeah, but not to the world anyway. But I'm trying to get out of
Okay.
this one
Fair.
gracefully. How do
Fair
you get
enough.
out of it
Yeah.
gracefully? That's what I'm trying to figure.
I read another article where they want to hire really, the hot actors of today, and
Right.
they're
Oh,
considering Timothy Chalamet.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the actor that is playing Ringo is, I think, a very, very, very good actor. I just watched the movie that he was in. Back in 2017 called "The Killing of a Sacred Deer," which is fantastic. His performance is great, and like you said, he's been in Dunkirk, so he's well established. And he actually did in the latest Batman movie of not 2019. He had the little cameo where he's playing the Joker, so that might be a bigger role for him as well. So I think he's a very, very talented performer.
Well,
The thing is getting the accent down,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I was going to
yeah.
say that because that's what Adrian said on your
Yeah,
show. Yeah. If
yeah,
you don't have
right,
the
right,
voices down really well, it's hard to be
It's
convincing.
it's tough. It's a tough
Yeah.
thing to cast the
yeah,
Beatles. You have to look somewhat like them. You have to believe you're watching that particular Beatle and have
Yeah,
to sound like each Beatle. That's
Right.
tough.
right.
right.
Yep.
Okay, well, now on John Lennon's YouTube channel, there are many fantastic videos that you can watch in preparation for the upcoming Mind Games box set due out July 12th. One of them, I found this really interesting, is an artist, Ed Fairburn, who was commissioned to draw composites. Oh, he's holding it up.
Well, I mean,
He's just torturing us.
Yeah.
I didn't show the one hand clapping. So
Yeah.
Well, Fairburn was asked to draw composites of portraits of John and Yoko each with a map of Liverpool over John, and a map of
Yeah.
Tokyo over Yoko. Ed tells you the whole process of how he does this and will even include a Liverpool treasure hunt based on the date when John met Paul, July 6, 1957, and the various locations that led to the historic meeting. And this will be a bonus feature on the limited edition box set. There's also a video made for the song You Are Here, which features never before seen footage from John and Yoko's art exhibit at the Robert Fraser Gallery, with cameo appearances from Derek Taylor, Victor Spinetti, Richard DeLello, Neil Aspinall, Kevin Harrington, and others. Really nice to see this popping up on YouTube. From our good friend John Bazzini, we learn of some upcoming books on the horizon, including John and Paul, A Love Story in Songs by Ian Leslie, due out April 8th next year, which you can pre-order on Amazon UK. Also due out the same date is Yoko, the biography from David Sheff, known for interviewing John and Yoko in Playboy in 1980. And he also wrote the best-selling memoir, Beautiful Boy, turned into a movie in 2018 starring Steve Carell and Timothy Chalamet. Now, a movie you've heard about for several years on the life of Brian Epstein called Midas Man just had its Canadian premiere at the Toronto Jewish Film Festival on May 30th. The film stars Jacob Fortune Lloyd as Brian. Jay Leno actually appears in the film playing Ed Sullivan. Studio POW and American Entertainment investors actually sold North American distribution rights to the company Briarcliff Entertainment. That's all the information we have about that right now, but hopefully we'll get to see it soon. Okay, the new album from Billy J. Kramer is called Are You With Me? You saw him perform a few songs from it at the recent fest for Beatles fans. The album was recorded at Abbey Road Studios, and Lawrence Juber co-produced the entire album with Jeff Perholtz, 10 tracks in total. One of the songs is called I Couldn't Have Done It Without You, which he actually performed at the fest. And it's a song all about Brian Epstein. And a new video was made with old footage of Billy and photos of Brian in there. Very loving words throughout the song. Steve Holley drums on the track, so you've got two members of Wings on that song. And Ringo's team of Mark Hudson, Gary Burr, and Mark Morando do backing vocals on that song as well. Billy also covers John Lennon's classic song Jealous Guy on the album, which for many years he's done in concert. Two of the songs were written by Billy, and the production is actually absolutely stellar. Listen to it on YouTube. All 10 songs are on there. Are You With Me? Okay. Actor Jude Law appeared on Stephen Colbert's show and told the story of how he went to see Paul McCartney at a concert in Australia last November. Paul's daughter Stella arranged for Jude and Paul to meet backstage before the concert, and Paul told Jude he would dedicate Hey Jude to him in concert. Well, Jude didn't think he would do it, but Paul did it. So Jude actually wanted to cry with emotion, but then he realized he was on the Jumbotron, so he had to hold back.
Yeah.
Brian Ray has just released a new album. It's called My Town on Wicked Cool Records. One of the songs is now available as a video to watch on YouTube. It's called When the Earth Was Round. Good rocker right there from Brian. Also, my colleague Darren DeVivo will team up with Dennis Elsis. Don't know if you know about this. They're both, of course, on New York's WFUV. And they're going to be hosting the Paul McCartney photo exhibit of Eyes of the Storm at the Brooklyn Museum on July the 11th. And that exhibit runs through August 18th. Good chance for you to go and see Darren and Dennis and all these McCartney photos. Again, that's on July the 11th at the Brooklyn Museum. And I know that all of you are thinking about the Mind Games box set, but remember before that, something called Revival 69, the concert that rocked the world, is actually going to be available. And it's not that easy. Well, it says digitally here. This is about the history of the Live Peace in Toronto concert, first released as a video on demand in 2022. It'll be out digitally and in select theaters on June the 28th. Keep an eye out for that. I wonder how many theaters are going to be running this. In addition to John and the Plastic Ono Band, the film includes performances from The Doors, Little Richard, Bo Diddley, Chuck Berry, Alice Cooper, Jerry Lee Lewis, Gene Vincent, and Little Richard.
Look for my review coming soon.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Ah,
Have
all
you seen it?
right.
I've seen it. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I
Anything
didn't
you
know.
want to just tease
Well,
the
review it now.
put her on the spot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't really say anything yet, because it hasn't come out yet, but
Yeah.
I'll just say it's it really is a fascinating look at that concert. Definitely some unseen footage. And it's really, I will say this, the Doors, it's disappointing because apparently their performance was not filmed. Yep, and it's, yeah, for some bizarre reason, and maybe because they were coming off of the whole scandal about, Jim Morrison exposing himself and,
Oh,
supposedly, and that whole thing.
Hmm.
I don't know, but yeah, that performance was not filmed.
So
So
they can explain why in this.
yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's very strange, but well,
Yep.
you have to wait now, and of course, I'll let you all know when the review is published.
People are strange.
Yes.
And of course, the biggest Beatle news concerned the podcast called Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast, which just celebrated its 250th episode, and all of us were
yeah.
on it. Congratulations.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a lot of
Thank
fun.
Yay.
you. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll talk more about that towards the end of the show. But
It's
thank you.
bigger news
What?
than touring.
Well, what are you going to do for 300 though? You gonna do it again?
Yeah.
Absolutely. This time we'll go live for 4 hours.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
right.
I only have 4-hour shows.
Yeah.
Okay, and of course, as we all know, tomorrow's the big day when Paul McCartney turns 82. So we send out
Mhm.
happy birthday wishes to him. And we're going to be talking about Paul and this release that came out Friday called One Hand Clapping. And so, and I do want to, if I say this too much tonight, I apologize, but I do recommend to everybody to watch the interview that Tom and Andy did with Adrian Sinclair, because he told us a lot of information about One Hand Clapping and everything leading up to it.
Right.
Very valuable information about this release and what exactly happened here. Because the interesting thing that I found about this early on in the interview is that this was, as Adrian called it, a vanity project. There were no real plans behind this film that was made. Paul liked to archive everything, and the main reason why he did this was to film the band and show them how good they looked on camera, what kind of chemistry they had, as well as how they performed. And I think that it's a strange thing. I've watched the bootleg for many years of this off and on. I've heard the audio off and on, and I've enjoyed it. I never realized how good it really was until it was packaged all together like this. The sound quality is amazing. Um, I'm just really, I can't believe that it took this long for this to be released, but then there never was any intention for this to come out in the first
No.
place. It's
Right.
just a very good thing that Paul recorded so much, and he's very lucky that he did this. This is very similar to what he did with the ICA rehearsals in the early, the first
Yeah.
formation of Wings, and we're fortunate that we have that. And I only hope that he has recorded everything on audio that he's done with Wings and since then. But I love what I'm listening to here. And let me just go over a few things of what actually has come out so far on One Hand Clapping, because this is not the first we've
Right.
heard of it.
Yeah, right.
On the Band on the Run archival box set, there is audio that was released for the songs Bluebird, Jet, Let Me Roll It, Band on the Run, 1985, and Country Dreamer, as well as having the video on there. That was the deluxe box set. Okay. And on the Venus and Mars archival collection, they also had Let's Love on there, Soily, and Babyface. Okay. And not only that, how many of you know that Live and Let Die was actually released before this? It came
Yeah.
out on the the soundtrack for the movie, The In-Laws.
Yeah, The In-Laws. Yep.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
When this movie came out, it included A Love for You,
Yeah.
a different recording of it altogether, plus this take of Live and Let Die from the One Hand Clapping sessions. It also had I'm Carrying included
Yep.
soundtrack as
Oh.
well. So all that came out already. But this is the first time that all this material has come out, and from what I understand, it's not everything.
No.
Oh, wasn't Maybe I'm Amazed and Suicide on the McCartney archive as well?
Suicide is on there, but that's a different take than the Suicide that
It
what he,
wasn't the, yeah. Okay. All right.
and maybe I'm amazed. I'm trying to remember.
I think that was on the archive set as well. I'd have to go back and look though.
Okay. All right. But just interesting that all the stuff that had already come out. I from my notes here, I was able to figure out things that there's only a few things that I know of that weren't included, and that's not counting different takes of these songs. But yeah, Suicide is not included.
Right.
That Paul does. There's a whole medley that he does at the piano. And then part of that medley is something called Sitting at the Piano, and that's not included on here.
Right.
And then the vinyl version of One Hand Clapping has that EP that Tom was just showing. It has 6 songs from what was called the Backyard Tape. The Backyard Tape was Paul. There you go.
Yep.
In the backyard at EMI with just an acoustic guitar, and you've seen a million times that performance of him doing Peggy Sue.
Yeah.
That's where it's
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
And then him doing Blackpool is part of the chapters on the McCartney years DVD. So you've seen that as well prior to this.
But I just wanted to say that that EP, that's only special when you ordered it online, right?
Correct.
I didn't get I
Correct.
bought mine in the
Yeah.
store, you know.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think it was McCartney online exclusive.
Yeah.
Exclusive.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then the Backyard Tape isn't complete
Right.
because there's only 6 songs on there. And yeah, why don't I just go over? I know I wrote it down here. Yeah, the version that's on the EP has Blackpool, Blackbird, Country Dreamer, 20 Flight Rock, Peggy Sue, and I'm Gonna Love You Too. What's missing is Great Day, Sweet Little 16, and probably my favorite, the 2 songs at the end are Elvis Presley songs that he does, and he does them great. Loving You and We're Gonna Move.
Right.
Okay.
Real quick. Adrian also believes that, or he believes that Sally G was also performed, in that on those backyard tapes. That was, that's on the main disc as well. So
Yeah.
that's a
Oh.
possibility.
Yeah, I was using my 8 Arms to Hold You book, and it's interesting
Yeah.
because G is not in there.
Right.
So we're always discovering new stuff still.
Right.
But let's start off the conversation by finding out from the 3 of you, when was the first time you ever found out about One Hand Clapping? Was it later on through Band on the Run and Venus and Mars, or was it earlier for each of you? Tom, we'll start with you.
Yeah. The 2010 Band on the Run box set. That's the first time I heard the One Hand Clapping. I mean, I've said it before. I don't seek out bootlegs, so I didn't know that this was, a prior bootleg. But yeah, that's it. And then we only got snippets of it. So, however, it didn't make me want to go out and see if there was more for whatever reason. But I just liked, there was some really good tracks. I mean, we'll talk about it, but listening to 1985, was I just thought, I mean, those vocal performances were great. That was my favorite part of discovering, them on the Band on the Run box set. So that's when it would have been for me.
Yeah, you just reminded me, 1985, just the part where Paul plays the piano, that's in the McCartney Years DVD as well.
Right.
It kind of it promotes whatever certain chapters. You just play music and it keeps repeating if you don't do anything with it. So yeah, so that was on there too. Joe, how about you?
The earliest I can remember, I'm going to say it was sometime in the I think maybe early '80s. I had a VHS tape bootleg of it, in a hard clamshell case, decent cover, slipped in. And yeah, I watched it and really liked it. Of course, the quality, as we know, wasn't great. That's a whole nother topic. I don't know if we're going to save that for later. The visuals of this, I still wish we somehow could get it, even though it's not perfect. It's I've seen some clips of it, and it looks pretty decent considering what it is. But yeah, and yeah, just really enjoyed it, and I loved it, especially the rockers. Junior's Farm, especially.
Mhm.
Band on the Run, and I didn't watch it that often. I mean, I think I didn't revisit it for a long time until the Band on the Run archives came out, and then I revisited it then. But
Yeah.
what they gave us of it.
Tom, I didn't ask you if you watched the video. Obviously, you did when Ben on the Run came out.
Yeah, when the Band on the Run came out, yeah, I mean, obviously you notice the video quality um is the main issue, but you didn't realize until later on that the person filming it used the worst possible choice option videotape that was made available, called Umatic tape, and which just that doesn't age very well. And I mean, obviously the proof is in the visuals. So, however, that being said, it looks like they are going to be using a lot of this footage in the upcoming Man on the Run documentary that we're supposed to supposedly see towards the end of the year. So we shall see.
Right. And also, as Adrian said in your interview,
Yeah,
if you tried to
yeah.
transfer the video to
Right.
16
And then
millimeter,
it just the quality, yeah,
yeah.
the
So
quality just dies. Yeah.
people are wondering why there wasn't a video release of this, and they probably figure the video quality wasn't that good. But then it's good enough to make a bonus.
Yeah, and I always
Yeah.
figure, you put a little disclaimer at the beginning, made from the best elements available, and it's,
Right.
in the history of why it looks the way it does,
Yeah.
and that should satisfy anybody. Or would me, better than
Oh,
nothing.
yeah.
Not everything
In
has to
this
look
case,
4K.
right. In this case, they could put the disclaimer made with the worst possible.
Well, yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Kid, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I probably didn't see it until the Band on the Run box set, but I had heard of it before then, and I'm trying to think. I think I had probably read about it in the '90s and on different books
Hmm.
about Paul. Like I think this was mentioned, and so I had heard this, about this this sort of legend about this show that was canned, ultimately and was put away. And Paul, I think in interviews had kind of made dismissive comments about it. But I think some footage from the backyard tapes did surface in a couple of I want to say the VH1 special. I could be
Yes.
mixing this. Yeah, there was some footage from that.
Hmm.
And I remember seeing that. Just a couple of clips, maybe the Peggy Sue clip. And I think that's been shown before. Um, and I'm not sure, there may have been one or two others.
I remember seeing "I'm Gonna Love You Too."
Yeah, maybe that as well. So, some of that popped up. And of course, I don't think at the time I realized where that was from. I just thought, oh, wow, I've never seen that before. Is that from his house? I mean, I just, I couldn't figure out where that was from. So, when we got the Band on the Run box set, I remember thinking, finally, I can see what the heck this one hand clapping was about, because I had heard about it for so long. Yeah, and I just, for some reason, I just never was able to get a bootleg of it, but I had certainly heard. I mean, it became this sort of legendary, bootleg and show that I had heard about for so long. Mhm.
And I think there probably was some kind of confusion as to what was the intention behind this whole thing.
Right.
You
Mhm.
kind of look up one hand clapping online and it'll say documentary,
Mhm.
and there's some
Mhm.
narration in it too.
Yes.
But at some point, Paul tried to sell it to the BBC and they turned it down.
Right.
Mhm.
They turned it
He's-
down.
yeah.
And it's surprising too, even with the quality of the film. I mean, here he is. I mean, the Band on the Run is, I think, #1 for 3 weeks in a row now, or something like that at this point in time in the UK. You know, his stock is rising, and they don't use it for whatever reason. But it is surprising, yeah, that they don't use it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Harry Benson points out in the
But-
comments that the Paul McCartney special
Mhm.
used some of the backyard footage in 1986.
Maybe
Mm.
that's where part of it
Yeah.
is. But I remember VH1,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, but it's
Mm.
kind of interesting that, all this time, I remember seeing one hand clapping, my friends who collect bootleg video, usually from overseas, I would see the video for it, and I was excited about the performance, but the picture wasn't that clear. So it didn't really turn me on too much to watch it. But as has been pointed out through this interview with Adrian, I mean, the audio is
Mhm.
absolutely superb, and that's what saves this whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a way you can
Right.
the video, fine, but the audio
Right.
is just really
Well, yeah. They could have just easily said, okay, well, let's do a BBC radio special with this, and not necessarily, do a TV special. I mean, the audio is that good, so why not switch to radio then?
yeah. I can honestly hear some fans saying, I like some of these versions better than the ones that came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen that too. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm,
So, yeah. What did you think of the additions of Jimmy McCulloch and Jeff Britton at this point? What we do know is that when they first got together in Nashville, and that wasn't the first time that Jimmy worked with Paul because he's on the McGear sessions,
Right.
which was in
Right.
early 1974. But when they were in Nashville, they apparently rehearsed a lot every single day, and they became a very tight band. And then when they got back to England and they started doing these rehearsals, you could see how tight a band they were just from these performances. But you do have a new guitarist in there. Doesn't sound that much like Henry McCullough. You've got Jeff Britton in there. He's kind of different from Denny Sywell. What did you think of what you observed audio and visually from those two? Kit?
Well, I thought Jeff Britton, I had forgotten until listening to this how good he sounded. I mean, I thought he sounded, I mean, he had a lot of power on this. And it's not to dismiss, any of the other drummers we know and love with Wings, but I thought, he just added even more power to the group at this point. I mean, on some of the, particularly the stuff like Soily and so forth. I mean, wow. He packed some power on there. I thought he added a lot. So I really thought he was one of the stars for me of this album. I mean, I really was impressed. Jimmy McCullough, I mean, we all know what a great guitarist he became. He was one of my favorites of the Wings period. But I think at this point, I felt like he was still trying to kind of find himself in a way in the band. I mean, you didn't really hear him cutting loose as much. I mean, I think he was still kind of feeling his way through, even though, as you said, he had rehearsed
Right.
extensively with the band. You just didn't sense like as opposed to when you see him in Rock Show, something where he was just to
Right.
me, I mean, he just was one of the central parts of that band. I mean, when he get out and do his solos or the solo in My Love, and so forth. I mean, here I just felt like he was holding back a little bit, and I think it was just because he was still new,
Right.
and was still learning his way through. So I feel like you don't quite get the full Jimmy McCullough in these sessions.
Right.
But he's learning, he still sounds great. But Jeff Britton, holy cow. I mean, I was really impressed with him here.
Yeah, Jimmy had so much experience at a very young age,
Mhm.
being in Thunderclap Newman and then stowing the crows and doing a lot of session work, he knew it was just a matter of time before he'd be like lightning in this band. But maybe early on, although, that solo in Junior's Farm is terrific.
Oh, it is.
So,
It is. So yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I just feel like, he's still kind of, learning his way, finding his way through the band, and he's not really showing us his full power quite yet. But he is definitely getting there.
Okay. Joe, how do you feel about those two editions?
Much like Kit does, actually. I was going to say, well, Jeff Britton, no argument there. Powerful drums, really, really strong. We don't have a lot of him, to go on, really. But Jimmy McCulloch, I've always loved him in Wings. Always liked his guitar playing. I do think he got even better. At least, let loose is a good way of putting it later on. Wings Over America. Now, I wanted to ask, I didn't look it up. Was Junior's Farm released yet as a single when this was out?
Not till October.
See, because I mean, not that he made 2 months made a big difference, but it is a studio record, recording for Junior's Farm. But he sounds amazing on the record, Junior's Farm, and not too shabby, very good. Also here on one hand clapping, but yeah, I did sense when I was listening to it that maybe he didn't. I don't know if it was the lack of opportunity. I don't think it was that. He had a few opportunities to go a little stronger. But I don't know. It was good. It was great, very, very good. But I think he's done better later on, in my opinion. And that's just what I was going to say. Exactly what Kit and I see eye to eye on that one.
Tom?
Well, Jimmy, his work on, you got a sense of what he was capable of with the McGear album. That was released in September of 74, before Junior's Farm came out as a single. So if you got that album, if you knew what it was, you got a kind of sense of Jimmy. And I think he plays lights out on a few tracks. And I think Giving Grease a Ride is one of those, great tracks that he really can play on. And yeah, maybe you're right. There's some stuff on here that he's phenomenal on. But
I want
like you
I
said,
want to
Ken,
mention Medicine Jar also as another
right.
as a good example of one of his greatest guitar works.
I'll read the from like the pamphlet here, what he says here. He goes, I want to be able to produce a monster album with Paul in the band and be proud of it. That's what I want, to be appreciated on record. So it's I think he got there with Wings. I mean, obviously we know he already played on a #1 hit before, so he's no stranger to the studio, and I think he turned out to be probably my favorite guitarist in Wings. And and I don't want to, like Kit said, I don't want to take away anything away from other members, but I mean, he was just in this period, where it was just, I mean, at the height of Paul's powers. I mean, he could do no wrong, and Jimmy was a part of that, with that era and that stadium tour. I don't know if Henry was kind of like a stadium guitarist. You think of like I'll give you an example. Like when you think of early Fleetwood Mac, you don't think of them as like a big playing big stadiums until Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham joined. Then you can kind of believe that they can play these big stadiums or whatever. But I think Jimmy is just fantastic. Jeff, on the other hand, again, we didn't know much about him prior to. We know he beat out Mitch Mitchell of the Jimi Hendrix Experience to get in the band, and maybe that was for the better. But they didn't get along. Again, he didn't get along with the others because he was kind of more of like a fit person and didn't believe in doing some of the activities that the others would partake in. And we learned during the Nashville sessions that there was tension there. And then going back to the whole documentary, if you watch it, I mean, I guess you couldn't see kind of some of those tensions. But was he a good fit? I mean, this whole package proves that I think he is a good fit.
And when he left Wings, there didn't seem to be any hard feelings.
No, Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Jim, imagine what it's like to be Jimmy, though, and he was looked at as being a child prodigy. And at such
Right.
a young age, he's in a band that not only has a #1 hit, but he's being produced by Pete Townsend.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that kind of prepares you for the big time at a very early age.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but still, there are moments when I do feel like in My Love, where I don't know what Paul saying to him, played the same solo that Henry had,
Right.
not
Yeah.
as biting,
Right.
in
Right.
this particular recording, but still, you know that his time will come in Wings. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like you mentioned, Medicine Jar Joe, one of the
Yeah.
highlights of
Mm-hmm.
the 75, 76 tour. And so much great lead guitar work he did on Venus and Mars and Speed of Sound in particular. But yeah, but this was the very beginning of the next lineup. And one of the things that I found interesting, which I didn't know before, again, till this interview with Adrian, was that the parts where Paul is in the documentary and he's alone, like at the piano, or the backyard tapes, those were separate. It wasn't
Mm.
with the band in any way. They were separate recordings altogether. So when it's presented all as one documentary, it's looked at as a Wings project. But there are those moments where Paul was just on his own, just doing what he wanted to do on the piano, and then also the backyard tapes. And they're both so entertaining, especially the backyard tapes. I mean, Paul is so much in his element with an acoustic guitar and doing 50s rock and roll and uh, you know, Country Dreamer and Sally G.
Mm-hmm.
Surprised
Oh,
I was on this collection. But did you ever sense that in watching this documentary? What did it seem inconsistent to you that Paul was doing all these separate things, or did it look just like a Wings documentary or a Wings presentation to you? Because when you're seeing Paul alone, you're not really thinking, well, the band's not with him. You know
I,
what I'm saying?
that's what I thought. I mean, I remember thinking it was separate things, kind of. I remember
Really?
first time seeing the videotape that I had. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, in a way, it's no different really from, let's say, the James Paul McCartney special, right? He's showing all his versatilities, right? I mean, he's backstage playing acoustic guitar. He's leading a band. He's he's playing great stuff on the piano. So it's I don't think it's no different from the James Paul McCartney special where he is, yes, he's in a band, but he is the main focus. There is no band, there is no Wings without Paul McCartney. And I think this is another great example of that.
yeah. I mean, I didn't find it in any way inconsistent or
Mm.
anything. I mean, because he's Paul McCartney,
Yeah.
darn it. And yeah, you want to see him on his own at times and just him and the guitar or the piano. And I love those moments,
Oh,
both there and on this album. I mean, to hear some of the songs, I mean, I'm sure I've talked about it many times on this show. I love the stripped down stuff,
yeah.
and he doesn't disappoint here. Some of the ones where it's just him and the piano and the guitar. Oh my gosh. I
Mm.
mean, I love hearing that stripped down kind of arrangement. So no, I didn't think it was like a glaring inconsistency that all of a sudden he's on his own. I mean, as you said, Tommy, he's showing his versatility and also, he is kind of giving us what we want, which is, hey, sometimes you just want to see him on his own and just seeing him strip a song to its bare elements that, of course, well, with a few exceptions, he wrote. I mean, I love that.
Okay. Well, I'm in total agreement with all three of you. I mean, I
Uh,
love seeing Paul alone,
mhm,
but at the same time, it's looked upon as being a Wings project. So I don't know. I
mhm,
kind of want to feel like they're all involved, but then you never know if Paul is just on his own doing these things, which we
mhm,
now learned he was. And in a
Well,
way, the backyard tape could really just exist all by itself as a release. It's that good.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah.
What
I mean, but
happens
you
with
got to look at it.
1900? I'm sorry, you go first. You were
No,
trying to say.
no, but I'm just saying. But I mean, look at it. The fact is, they're all learning his past songs, right?
Right. Right.
They're not, creating new material in the studio. Say like, Let It Be. Um, so it is still very much Paul McCartney and
mhm.
Wings, but
I want to say I don't remember the visuals of this, but like with 1985, when you hear Paul doing his thing, which is fantastic.
Right.
It's kind of like raw, just him. I love that bit. But then at the end, I don't remember from watching the video. It
Right.
has sounds like the record.
It is the record.
Yeah.
Right.
What did they do with that? They just tagged it on afterward or something. I don't
I don't
remember.
know why they edited that together, but he does sing along with the record. He sings over the
So
record.
that's what he's
He does
doing.
ad-libbing towards the
Mhm.
end.
Yeah.
Maybe they felt that he didn't perform enough of 1985 alone on the piano. Maybe he didn't do a full take of the whole song. I don't know. So maybe to make it
Yeah.
they edited the two together. That's one of the few disappointments for me. I'd rather hear Paul just alone on the piano doing the whole song,
Same here.
Right.
even if you
Yeah.
don't have the harmonies with Danny and Linda in there.
Right.
I love just the first 2 minutes, just
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just him and the piano, because then they switch it with him and the mic singing, and yeah, it's a completely whole different thing. But then, we're also learning with, talking with Adrian, that they also worked. It wasn't for just 4 days; it was also 6 days. I mean, they also worked on it a couple days in October, I think it was. So there are some kind of. He talked about Junior's Farm being kind of like Frankenstein with three different takes. And then going back to this, I mean, they did multiple takes of a lot of these songs.
Oh,
Right.
sure.
So the 119, 1985, it could have been a couple takes that they were taking from that video. Obviously they did some overdubs too, to this, so it wasn't just all live, but
Right.
for the most part, it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, but he probably didn't feel that if they did more than one take of 1985, or he did,
Right.
that it's good enough that it
Mhm.
made
Right.
sense to edit the two together.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So let's get an idea of what your favorite moments are on these two discs, because there's so much. Let's just run down the whole list of, this is not including the backyard stuff. There's the instrumental of One Hand Clapping, Jet, Soily, the medley of Sea Moon, Little Woman Love, Maybe I'm Amazed, My Love, Bluebird. At the piano, it is Let's Love All of You and I'll Give You a Ring, then Band on the Run, Live and Let Die, 1985, and Babyface. That's just the first disc. Let's just talk about the first disc. What are some of your favorites, Kit?
Oh my gosh. Love Jet. I think this is a great version. Jeff Britton's drums sound incredibly strong here. Some of those rolls he does and the fills, woo! I mean, just incredible. Also noticed particularly in this version how Linda's synth playing had grown in just a short
Yeah.
time.
Hmm.
I thought her playing here was great. Also, I thought they really emphasized how reggae tinged the pre-chorus is. In Jet, I thought the major was a little lady suffragette, like that part.
Hmm.
They really, I think, up the reggae kind of rhythm here. Really great live version. As we were talking before we went on air, and we've kind of referred to it, Soily. Oh my God, as I was saying, this is a banger, a bop. It slaps, whatever you want to say. I mean, this version is one of the highlights of the set for me. I mean, this just rocks. The remix of this just makes it crystal clear. Sounds like they could have recorded it today. The band just gels. I mean, it gels. If this was an audition, they passed with flying colors. I mean, and Paul's voice is stellar on this. I mean, absolutely stellar. Paul, if you're listening to this, bring this back in concert. Okay, bring this back on your tour. I mean, this is just such a great one. My Love. I love the version of My Love on this. Harmonies are nice and tight. Love Paul's vocals on this. I mean, just soft and sensual when they need to be, emotional when they need to be. Love the strings. The string arrangement's beautiful.
Hmm.
Jimmy's guitar solo, even though he is obviously being told you have to make it sound like the record, but he does it, but he would get even better over time, as you said. Love Paul's additional vocal ad libs on it too. I like that he did it just a little bit differently. So that's another big addition for me. I think that's everything for side one. So yeah,
There's there's so many
wonderful.
highlights for me, but I'll talk about that in a moment.
Mhm.
Tom, the first disc.
Wow. Well, yeah, it's just the first disc. Well, I mean, again, Jet sounds so tight. It's a great tight performance. However, it's not my favorite performance of the Wings period, but it's a great tight performance. Love Soily, but I gotta tell you that Joe English on drums on Soily and Wings Over America, as great as Jeff Britton is, there's no topping that. Simon is interesting because during the '73 UK tour, it was switched. He would normally do Little Woman Love, Sea Moon, and then reprise Little
Hmm.
Woman Love. So this is kind of interesting to see him kind of you know uh, rotate that a little bit, starting with Sea Moon and then going into Little Woman Love. I did kind of like that little new intro for Maybe I'm Amazed. Um, and all these vocal performances from Paul on all these tracks are just stellar. Then obviously the Jimmy solo on My Love is interesting. Correct me if I'm wrong, but on the Venus and Mars, the Let's Love on that one is the full length version. Um, on the bonus tracks, on the bonus CD. I want to say there is a full length version of Let's Love on there.
Okay.
So
See,
somebody can correct me. Yeah.
I
Don't
get
remember.
confused sometimes here. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
the version to get it complete, I think there neither one is complete, I think. Because
No,
one
but
of
I
them
think it's a
with the second
go ahead.
verse,
Yeah. Yeah. Because
but
I
this
think that is a
yeah.
studio version. Sorry, Ken. I think that is a studio version that he does Let's Love that's on the Venus and Mars bonus disc. So maybe someone in the comment section can tell us. But that whole piano, those three in a row piano bits, "Let's Love All of You" and "I'll Give You a Ring," are fantastic. Now when you listen to 1985, when you hear him do the piano bit, it sounds more like how he does it today live than it does sound like he does it on Band on the Run originally.
Yes, that's really
Kit,
true.
did you
That's a
notice
good
that?
point.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yes. He adds in those couple little the couple little extra chords in there
yes.
during that opening bit of 1985. Now, interesting,
He doesn't
he
do a
was
full
even
introduction of the song when it's live. It's really short.
no,
Yeah.
right, right. Interesting, with Babyface, um, back even in February 1975, he's still thinking about releasing this maybe because then he does that whole kind of New Orleans style orchestration for this version of Babyface that's on this. And that was recorded in '75. So maybe he was still thinking eventually this would get put out. But by then, you're also replacing a new drummer. So, what's the point? Even though they released Rock Show after the point too, but all in all, this was a fantastic first CD, and I'm just like dying to hear the second CD after listening to this one. So
Mhm.
I loved they're all standout cuts here.
Yep.
I agree. Joe?
Oh,
You're
you're on
muted, Joe.
mute.
Hear
You're
you.
muted.
Okay.
There we go.
I think that going by the CD, of course, CD one, I think is really solid, pretty much all the way through. A little point where I kind of is a little weak for me, but overall, it's a great show all the way through. I don't know. Two, I have a little bit more, quibbles with, but one is solid all the way through. I like the theme of one hand clapping. I like,
Yeah.
it's kind of funky, weird little instrumental. It's kind of offbeat. I kind of like that. Jet, is a very strong. Loving this version of Jet. Soily, which we've been mentioning a lot before we did the show. I've never been a big fan of Soily, but I love this one. This made me a fan of it. I haven't heard Wings Over America in a long time, or I haven't seen Rock Show either in a while. But I don't know what it is about that. Maybe because I didn't know it. Now I know, Ken, that's what you loved about it.
Yeah. I think it's the guts to close a concert with a song that
Yeah,
nobody knew.
takes a lot of guts, but be that as it may, I still don't know what it's about. Doesn't matter that I don't know what it's about. I just think it really rocks in this one, and it's tight, and it could be my favorite track at the moment on the whole the whole thing. Really,
The
that's
only
how
thing
much.
you the only thing you need to the only thing you need to know, Joe, is this that the cat in satin trousers says it's oily. That's the only thing you need to know about oily.
Well, I got to know about it. Like I've
Yeah.
said so many times before, I think even in my own little review I did in on my channel on my video. It doesn't matter when you're digging a rock song. If you're really enjoying it, it doesn't matter. And sometimes it's even more fun if it's nonsense. So I know I'm enjoying it a lot in this one. Uh, Sea Moon and Little Woman Love. That grew on me more. I played this more than once. I thought, oh, Sea Moon again, right? But I love it. And somebody said that he always has an opportunity with that song to phrase
Yeah.
differently. I
Yeah.
remember hearing somebody say,
Mm.
which is something I never really considered. You have a different
Mhm.
opportunity to make it sound a little different every time, and he loves doing that. But it sounds great here. I mean, I love it. Maybe I'm amazed a little longer, but then again, I think even the one we're used to 76 is maybe a little longer.
It is long.
Uh, the guitar solo, nice. You could tell he's trying to do Henry, right? Or might be told to do Henry's version. Um, nothing to quibble with here. My love, that was a touching. I got kind of a little, misty eyed with it. I thought it was really good. Uh, it's funny that I like when he does the whoa, 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 whoas. But when he
Yes.
starts going whoa, 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 it really goes crazy. I, I don't know. It's still fun, but I prefer it the other way. What can I say? Every track, I'm okay. Bluebird, is nice. You can't, what's there to quibble about with that? I'm not wild about Let's Love or All of You, to tell you the truth, but it's relatively. It's only looking at the thing here. It's 3 minutes altogether. It's 3 minutes and change, but it's not horrible. I mean, I can listen to it. Just think that may be the point for me where it's just like it takes a little break for me until I get to I'll Give You a Ring, which I always have fun with,
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
that's really a lot of fun here. Band on the Run, it's a song that we sometimes say we love it, but we're getting like a little burnt out on it. I'm not anymore. I don't know. I really had a newfound love for it all over again, listening to it here, because this is all. It's intimate, It's an intimate in the studio, whereas compared to say a live stadium show
Yeah.
or something, it's more just them together inside on Abbey Road, which I think makes me like all this stuff a
Yeah.
lot more, rather than it's just not so out there. And Live and Let Die. Again, these are things what else can you possibly say? I mean, I say that a lot. It's a good version of it. Maybe I missed the explosions of late from live shows at the end. And we already talked about 1985.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Look, I don't mind Babyface, but I got to tell you, I mean, it's fun, right? It's just for a good time, and Paul's doing his schmaltz and the Fred Astaire stuff and all that he loves. But it's funny. I was listening to one of the times I was listening to this. I was listening to it at my record store, and this guy goes, "What? It's hot, terrible." He says, "That's terrible." I tried to say to him, do you know what this is?" And he says, "Yeah, I know what it is. I know Babyface." No, I said, "I don't mean the song. I mean the idea of this, or what this is just supposed to be." Him having some fun, a little lark, and this is just not like an official release. They didn't release this, and I could see why. So forget it, forget it. You didn't get it. You didn't get it. But anyway, was Babyface? I don't remember the end, near the end originally of
It was
this.
the end of the documentary.
I seem to remember it being at the end. That's the only thing I would have liked it. I think, really, looking for little constructive
Yeah.
criticisms would have been nice at the end, the very end, after High High
Mm.
High. I think.
Okay.
But no, all around, even with little things I might have said like so. I mean, it was a real experience, and as Tom well put it, you want to listen to the next disc after this. it was really enjoyable.
And I think you touched on something important, Joe, which is the intimacy of the whole
Yeah,
performance.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
one of the things that made it so great. I mean, they sound like they're in your living room.
yeah. I'm not a big, I'm
Mm.
not a big live fan of live music most of the time. For the most part, there's some exceptions. Amoeba gig, I love. But that also is kind of intimate, isn't it? Right?
All right. Yep.
You know,
Sure is.
it's something like that. It's just more confined. Something, just a band in the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something to be said about all that. I mean, Band on the Run is a song that, as I've said, I can suffer from fatigue with it. But when I hear it in the studio and it's a different take and it's a different vocal, and the vocal is just as strong as the version that we've come to know all this time, it gives you more of an appreciation again. I don't know what it is exactly. It's far more exciting to me than another live performance of the same song, which is going to sound pretty close to his other live performances of Band on the Run.
Mhm.
So, and especially when his voice is in top form as it is on this entire set. Um, One Hand Clapping, the instrumental, I like a lot because it's got that 1973 to 75, 76 sound with the mini Moog. It's very much like Zoo Gang, being an
So are you
instrumental.
saying that it's dated?
No,
But if
that's a
it's
first.
updated, it doesn't matter, Tom.
Doesn't
I
matter.
Nothing
That
matters, Tom.
that's the key. That's the key. It doesn't matter if it sounds dated.
And it doesn't sound dated to me. But it does remind me a lot of Zoo Gang for that. For that.
Okay.
Jet, I like a lot because of all the energy in it. It does sound kind of faster than the
It
version
does.
that was on Ben on the Run. But the only thing I don't like
Yeah.
about this is that I'm missing the horns instead of having the sound on the synthesizer. You
Yeah.
know. So and Soily has always been one of my favorite rockers from Paul, that Wings Over America version, and it really kicks ass. It's one of the greatest rockers he's ever done live. And it sounds great on Wings Over America. I love playing it on the radio. And in the studio, Soily is a very interesting song because it went through all these different arrangements from 1972 to the
Right.
75-76 tour. So, but this one is just they're so tight playing this song. I love this arrangement. I love the band. And like you said, Kit,
Yeah.
I'm listening to this and I'm saying, bring it back. Bring it back to the live set.
Americans don't realize that he did this for the UK tour, and I think he also did it for the European tour as well,
Uh-huh.
prior to Wings Over America. So
Yeah.
Europeans in London or UKers, they knew this song already,
Mhm.
or the ones
Yeah.
that saw him live, anyways.
Yeah, that's true, but he never released it commercially in the world,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Sea Moon, Little Woman Love is nice. It's cute. It goes together very well. Um, I can't say I've always enjoyed it as a medley, as the two of them together. Maybe I'm Amazed is another song I've heard to death, but I love this version.
Yeah.
Barney's vocals are in tip-top shape and the band sounds really good. And just to hear a slight difference, in this case, there's several differences in what he does when he improvises vocally. Um, Again, gives
What do
me
you think
more of
about the
an
echoing? What do you think about the little bit of the echo that's in this
I
and
didn't
My
care.
Love?
He didn't need it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Right.
Really need it when his voice is this strong. Sometimes I think when you put echo on, it's to bury something, and you didn't need to bury McCartney's vocals. Certainly at this stage, his vocals were
Right.
so good. My Love is really nice, like
Yeah.
everything that you said there. Um, Bluebird, what a perfect version of Bluebird, you know? And it's interesting that, it starts with those descending notes instead of the acoustic intro that they used in the 75-76 tour. Um, and the harmonies are spot on in this version. Let's Love, I love the song. I'd like to hear a full version of it in this medley. It's only a minute long, a little more than a minute. It's really a perfect song from Peggy Lee, who he wrote it for. All of you. I know you didn't care for this part, Joe, but this is to illustrate the cabaret style of Paul. And I think he could have developed the song a little bit more, and he could have released it on one of his albums. He also did this song. I always get confused between Parkinson or Wogan. He did this song in the early 2000s, maybe when he played Your Love and Flame, I think. But there was a song that he made up when he was in New York City in an apartment, and it's looking out over the window at Central Park, and it's very cabaret-ish. And this is very much like the same thing. All of you, which I think is,
That would have been Parkinson's. That would have been
is
Parkinson's.
Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give you a ring. Sounds great. And for people, the education of knowing how far back that song goes to 1974, um, sounds good here. Band on the Run sounds fantastic. Live and Let Die. Here, this is baffling. If Paul had no intention of releasing this really, or he didn't really know for sure, why would he hire an entire orchestra to back up Live and Let Die?
Yeah.
Because I mean of the fact that it could have been on TV. I think.
Could
You
have.
know,
or maybe maybe he wasn't sure he wasn't going to 100%. Maybe he thought he would release it.
Okay. He probably wasn't sure what his intentions were all along. 1985, we talked about Babyface. I like a lot. I like him corning around with that. You've got the cutest little choo-choo face.
Yeah, that part's good. Definitely. That's good. It's just he's just having fun.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's you see all these many sides of Paul McCartney, which he tries to do on his albums and evidently in all these recordings here. So let's talk about the second disc. We've got Let Me Roll It, Blue Moon of Kentucky. Here's a surprise I didn't know about. First side. Love My Baby, Let It Be, The Long and Winding Road, and Lady Madonna as a medley. Junior's Farm, Sally G, big surprise there. Tomorrow, Go Now, Wildlife, and Hi Hi Hi. So this time, let's start with Joe and what you thought of.
I was afraid of that. No, I usually like it, but Let Me Roll It. I mean, I think I need another listen to that before I comment on that one.
Uh,
I know Blue Moon of Kentucky. I remember it being I'm so used now. I think to the version from Unplugged,
Yeah.
which is I love that slow arrangement on Unplugged. This is more up tempo, or from what I remember of it, and it's very nice. Now, Power Cut. Uh, Sorry, Andy Nichols, but Power Cut, a waste of energy.
Oh.
I don't like Power Cut, and but it's a minute and 33 seconds. Luckily, I'm reading from the back of the timing, so I can remember that. But I wanted to give Andy, because Andy and I like to have a little fun like that. So I know he loves that album. Love My Baby. Why don't I recall it? Was that anywhere else
I think
besides?
Paul put that on his website as a bonus track.
put on his website. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause, I think I played disc one a lot more than disc two. That's the problem. But I do know that I felt that the Beatles songs, he does "Let It Be," "Long and Winding Road," and "Lady Madonna." Very short snippets of them, short versions. To me, they're a little disappointing. But I think at that particular time in '74, unless I'm wrong, he really wasn't going all out. Let's go back to the Beatles.
Right.
Even in '76, he didn't do a lot of Beatles songs. Like now, half
Right.
the show or three-quarters of the show now are
Right.
Beatles songs, right?
Mhm.
But so I can understand that why at the time he didn't go full blast Beatles, and I'm fine with that. You
Right.
know,
Right. I mean, the only
uh,
other time he would have. Sorry, Joe. I mean, don't mean to interrupt. I mean, the
that's
only
all
other
right,
time he would have done that was then on the James Paul McCartney special.
right?
Right. He ends doing Yesterday. And during that acoustic bit with Linda taking pictures, I think he does Michelle during that bit too, as
Does.
I
well.
think, yeah.
He
Mhm.
does Michelle.
Doesn't he do
Yeah.
Blackbird? Or Bluebird he does on there on the
No, he
two.
Bluebird.
does a
Yeah.
Bluebird. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
I think
yeah,
it was
he did
part of
what?
the contract too. I think that they wanted him, he had to do some Beatles in there.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Mm.
that's interesting. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, I've got no problem with it. I'm just making an observation. Junior's Farm, I absolutely love. I'm kind of disappointed though to hear that it's a hybrid. I didn't know that going into this that we found out that it's Frankenstein from
Hmm.
uh, different pieces. I did know that, but it doesn't take away my love for it here. I love it. It's one of my favorite of all Wings songs. One of my favorite Paul rockers,
Yeah.
way up there. And I loved it here too. Very good. Sally G. I always loved that B side. Paul getting into country, and it's a very good version. I like the single. I think better. It's a real treat to have it here. I don't think it's quite as countryish. Of course, you don't have the
Right.
twangy
Mhm.
guitar,
Right.
but still, the melody, the way he's singing, the melody is country in feel.
Mhm.
Even though you don't have the countryish signature guitar twang sound, but it still sounds a little country, but not as country for me. I thought that Tomorrow, which is another song I love, off Wildlife, this is a little half-hearted to me. Uh, I don't think it's as strong as the one on the album.
I'm kind of
Uh,
surprised he did it so much slower here.
yeah,
I think it was because Linda's dad liked the song and he suggested to do it a little slower. That's just what I
you think?
heard. So whether or not that's the reason, we'll see.
And Go Now, a really nice version of Go Now. I think it's beautiful. I know it was a favorite of Paul Linda's, right? Both of them.
Mhm.
It just a really splendid version. Wildlife, it's respectable. I called it a respectable version. Still like it better on the album. This one. And Hi 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 is great for me. I thought it was an amazing version of Hi 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 to close out the album. And then I could use a little Chuchi face after that, if they stuck baby face on there as a little fun ending.
Okay, Kit, let's get your take on the second disc.
All right. Well, I'm gonna just because a lot of what you said, Joe, are my opinions as well. So I'm just going to go through the highlights for me because my highlights were a little bit different. Well, Junior's Farm. I mean, come on, that is such a I never get sick of Junior's Farm. And again, Jeff Britton's drums on this were fantastic. I mean, and this is a song where you want some strong drums. I mean, you want that hard driving rhythm for this, and he doesn't disappoint. The harmonies aren't quite as tight here.
Right.
Particularly, I'm sorry, Linda, God bless her soul, but not quite as tight here, but that's okay. This is live, doesn't really hurt the performance. This is a little loose and raw, and that's okay for a song like Junior's Farm. I mean, it's okay, and I love the guitar solo, and when Paul says, take him down, Jimmy. I love that. I love it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite moments in Paul history.
Exactly. I mean, it never gets old, right, Joe? I mean, it's just such a
Yeah,
great
and how do
song.
you feel if you're Jimmy? You should feel great.
Exactly. I mean, it's just the best. Sally G. So great to hear him bring this out. See, this is what I wish he would do in concert, like he does in this, bringing out the B-sides. I
Right.
mean, this is just great. I love this stuff.
Mhm.
So fun to hear this. As you said, Joe, you love to hear the country side of Paul. You just, I love to hear this unplugged version of him. And yes, it's not as twangy, but it's still and the lyrics, because you also, when you hear him unplugged like this, you pay more attention to the lyrics. And I just, and there's just really humorous lyrics in this. You don't know what I'm paraphrasing here. You don't know what, I don't know what the G is for, but it's not good.
But
I love it.
sure is
one, of,
not
one,
good.
of,
Yeah.
Good.
one of my
Love it.
favorite Paul lyrics.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
just great. Also, I never really thought about it until listening to this. It's a little bit Mike Nesmith-ish, It's a little bit of like his kind of brand of humor as well. I mean, his kind of country. So, but anyway, great version. Now, I have to disagree with you guys. I like this version of Tomorrow a lot. I really did. I like the slowed down version because again, also stripped down, just piano, you really listen to the lyrics. And I know I'm going to have tomatoes thrown at me. This actually is not one of my favorite songs normally, but I really like this version. I mean, I appreciated the okay, Tom. All right, I
That's why,
know.
that's why you really like this
Something
version.
worse to throw at you.
I mean, I know. First, I pissed him off the Magneto and Titanium Man, and now this. He's had it with me.
What more can we take?
Yeah, exactly. but but I really like this version. I mean, the chord changes really stood out to me more. Nice chord changes. You really get the sense of the lyrics more. I liked the slowed down version, so this was a nice surprise to me. I enjoyed this quite a bit. And I kind of like this version of Wildlife, because it was first of all, a little shorter, which which wasn't all bad. The one on the record's a little long, so this one's a little bit shorter. And I thought this was a really good. I liked the lead vocal from Paul was great on this. Of course, he's an incredible voice throughout. Jimmy's solos were excellent here, I thought. I mean, Paul's rock voice, as we all know, in this period was just second to none. And
Off
you
the
really,
charts.
yep, you really hear it on here. I mean, he alternates between a scream and shouting and then, singing. I mean, he's just at his best here. So I liked the version of Wildlife as well. So those were the big highlights for me.
Nobody's
Okay.
talking about Let Me Roll It yet.
It's good. It's good, but it's a little fatigue factor for me.
Yeah,
It's a good version. It's a good version.
maybe that's why I don't remember. How come I don't remember that one?
Yeah.
Maybe because I heard it too much. But
Yep. But it's a good version. It's a good version. It's just, a little fatigue
I
factor.
gotta give it another spin.
Yep.
Okay. Tom, your turn.
Well, it's funny you said that, Joe, because I was just going to say is because as I'm putting in the second disc, I'm dreading it because I know "Let Me Roll It" is the first song on the
Right.
CD.
And
like,
boy,
oh,
I
no.
got that.
However,
I always loved that song on Band
Right.
on the Run.
Me too.
Always
I
loved
used
it.
to love it.
I
However,
still
like
do.
Ken alluded to with Band on the Run, I mean, it's a new vocal, right? I mean, you got two new band members, and it feels really fresh when I listen to this. And I didn't feel like, oh my God, I don't want to hear that song again. I felt like, oh my, I could really, go back and listen to that again. Your Blue Moon of Kentucky, I thought was a lot better than, doesn't he do that on Unplugged?
Yes.
I think he
Yeah.
does Blue Moon on, yeah. And then let's see here, Power Cut, I kind of liked a little bit better than the album version, gotta say.
Power cut. Pull the plug.
That's yeah. Junior's Farm, from my understanding, it's built from takes recorded in August and October. So that's my understanding of that. Sally G again is fantastic. I do love the slower piano version of Tomorrow myself,
Thank you.
as someone that has always loved that song. Now go back and listen with headphones and tell me if you don't think that's Denny Lane singing the first line of Wildlife.
It is. The
It
introduction.
is. Yes.
Oh.
Yes. That it is. I'm glad you noticed that, Ken, because I was like, "Am I crazy? Is this Denny doing this?" And it was kind of cool, following after Go Now, because it kind of gives Denny a little bit more, because there really isn't, a lot of Denny lead vocals on this set, which you think there may have been. But no, it's just Go Now, and then that bit of Wildlife, and then Hi. Those two. Wildlife. I got here. Jimmy is great, and, and he's great on Hi too. So he does shine on a lot of this set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take My Love aside. There's so many other places where he shines on this album. Even on Let Me Roll It, I just think he's fantastic. As burnt out I am as on that riff, but hearing him play it was
Yeah,
kind of fresh
Yeah.
good to
sounding.
get a chance
you
to
know.
hear Jimmy do some of these, right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So the second side, maybe not as exciting as the first CD, but again, you're hearing him do a couple of Beatle tracks as short as they are. I mean, it's still him returning to his old band. June's Farm sounds fantastic. So there's a lot to love on this CD as well.
Yeah. I was just thinking because, I would echo the same words about hearing a different take of the same song that you've heard a million times over. And when you've got a different take with different vocals and a few different players, it sounds fresh. It's the same
Right.
thing with Band on the Run. It's the same thing with many of these songs. And I kind of wish maybe, as much as I like hearing outtakes of songs where it's certainly not perfect, I wouldn't mind hearing something similar like this if there ever was for other albums, you know?
Mhm.
Other really good live takes in the studio of songs from other McCartney albums or Wings albums, but that's
Yeah.
kind of what this all is.
Mhm.
Same thing with Let Me Roll It. Blue Moon of Kentucky, remember there was a live version that Wings did, which is on that
Yeah,
bonus
that's right. Yeah.
from Speedway, the box set.
Good point. Good point.
Kind of similar, really good harmonica playing on there, which I'm pretty sure has to
There's
be.
no it's not credited. There's no one credited to harmonica on the
Yeah.
credits. So I'm kind of curious
Yes.
to know
Good
who
question.
would have done that.
Who played that?
Yeah,
Maybe Denny. Yeah.
I would think it's Denny. Power Cut is cute. It almost sounds like Paul has got like a kiddie piano that he's playing at the time, but it's
Mhm.
nice to have a different version. I never thought I'd ever hear another version of Power Cut anywhere. And at that introduction there, where he's taking a request and he's playing the organ there, and he's trying to act like maybe he's a DJ or something or an announcer. That was really kind of funny. But I like the fact that's in there. Love My Baby. Again, it's cute. It's a song he didn't fully develop. It's okay to throw it on there as a bonus. The Beatles songs are a little bit disappointing because they're so short. I do like Paul's piano playing in On the Long and Winding Road in particular.
Mm,
Junior's Farm really rocks. I don't really care if it's Frankenstein or not. Sally G is a big, big plus because that's always been one of my favorite B-sides of his. It's such a perfect recording in the studio. Everything that goes into it, the pedal steel guitar,
mhm.
violins, everything. The arrangement was so good, and it made me wish Paul would do more country music. But to hear him just with an acoustic guitar doing this, and it's a perfect version, that was a nice surprise, which I never knew existed until now. And tomorrow, I do like this slow down. I like different arrangements of the song. It's just that I love the version on Wildlife. I mean, I always thought that was clearly what would be the best single on that album. Almost has a
Mm,
bit of a soul-y, gospel-y feel when you slow it down.
mm,
Oh, now
Yeah.
sounds great. Wildlife, I'm glad you pointed out Denny sings the beginning there. And I think Hi 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 is one of the absolute highlights here because the band really rocks on here. I'm pretty sure I think Paul even repeats a verse that he didn't do on the actual single version. Um,
No recall.
but they
Damn.
really rock all throughout
Correct
this.
me if I'm wrong. One last thing, Ken. Sorry to interrupt, but on Live and Let Die doesn't in the studio version he does What Does It Matter to You twice, or am I
No.
dreaming that, or was it always just once?
Yeah, once.
Okay, all right, never mind then. Go ahead.
Okay. No, that's it really. I mean, when it comes to rockers, I gotta give credit to Soily and Hi 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 on here, and definitely Band on the Run shines. Live and Let Die sounds great. I mean, there's so many great things you could say about this collection.
Mhm,
But it also, I know Jeff Emmerich said he really loved producing this. This was like the best live set, as he worded it, that he had worked on. Glad to see Jeff Emmerich working with Paul throughout a good chunk of his career, and very pleased overall on these two discs. Now, as you were saying, Tom, if you order online the vinyl, you get that
yep.
EP.
You get
Um,
the EP.
sure.
Yep.
Were you familiar with the full backyard tapes?
Well, yeah, I was familiar with Blackpool and Blackbird. I was
Yeah.
familiar with those two. Was not familiar with Country Dreamer. Obviously, Peggy Sue. We knew, but I'm gonna love you too. I wasn't familiar with. So this I played this, guys. I shit you not. It sounded like he was in my backyard. He
Uh-huh.
Yep.
sounded like he was in my backyard playing this.
Yeah.
I've
This
heard them too through other
yes,
means, so I can
you're
talk
right.
about these too. Yeah. Mhm.
Unbelievable. This sounds so crisp, so clear.
Yes.
Again, like he was right behind you or something, or same, same facility or whatever. It's so close. It just sounded that good. the work who was the work that Steve Orchard did on this, fantastic, the remixing. Because I know there might be some confusion with Giles Martin. He did the Atmos mix. He did not do the stuff on the vinyl and CD. So,
Okay.
okay, for people that might not have known that. So, but yeah, Steve Orchard, the work he did on this, on all of these. I mean, because then even the way we talked about Linda's Moog or whatever, a lot of that was brought up from the original bootlegs too. So you do get to hear that a little bit better as well, which is another thing that I'm learning from these as well. So this is worth it. If you go back to Paul McCartney, I don't know if it's still available. Hopefully it is. But go to paulmccartney.com and check it out. This is a must-have, in my opinion. And it's too bad that they didn't connect it on with the CD, because it would have been really cool to have it on CD as well.
They really should have made a separate disc with all the songs from the
Right.
backyard.
Yeah. I agree with Tom. I mean, the sound, particularly Country Dreamer, which is my favorite cut on that whole thing. I mean, the sound is so crisp. I mean, you can hear like every buzz, every scratch on those strings.
Wow.
I mean, that's how good it is. I mean, kudos to who did the
Steve Orchard.
Steve Orchard.
Yeah.
Kudos to him. He did an incredible job. I mean, sounds like it could have been recorded now. That's how good it is.
And you actually hear him say polygon in the hi, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's you don't
That's
get
how
confused
good
whether
it is.
Yes, you don't get confused whether or not it's polygon or
it's not.
whatever.
It's polygon. Yeah, it is. It really is.
But he doesn't say you're going to be my funky little mama.
Right.
I want you.
Oh darn!
Wait a minute. I want you in my pocket. I thought it was.
But yeah, all those years when he is a total liar that he said polygon. No, he did.
But he says it in such a way, it's almost like a bee. Polygon. He's like,
right.
But he says, "I want you in my pocket," doesn't he? We're gonna rock it.
I have to go back. Yeah.
I have
to
to go back
pocket,
and listen.
little mom. I'm gonna rock it. Pocket and rocket.
Right.
That's what I always thought. But we hear things differently, whether there's a bathroom on the right or what.
So those performances, you loved all of them, Tom, on the 6 songs?
Yeah, flipped it over and you got the Buddy Holly stuff, and it's on the back. It's titled "I'm Too Tired to Rock," which is which is a nice little touch. But yeah, even that side too. Even though I mean the first side is where it's at, but yeah, hear him do those earlier songs. It just sounds so natural. It's almost like he wrote them and created them and sang them originally.
He did.
No, yeah, well, I know that, Joe, but
he did. He wrote everything. You know that.
Exactly. Yes. But it just sounds so natural hearing him play those songs.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why people loved Unplugged a lot, because so much of that was the 50s stuff that he grew up on, and every now and then Paul goes back to that stuff, the 50s rock, which the Beatles loved too, obviously. But Country Dreamer was always a treat for me. The fact that he, like you said, Kit, B-sides here, Country Dreamer and Sally G.
And it's cool too because he's got to restart 3 times because he forgets the second line.
Yeah, he just said, "If I could just remember the words."
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
It looks like that's a real good thing that you should have got. I'm talking to myself. I regret not getting that.
And when you mentioned the rock covers, the Buddy Holly ones, Peggy Sue, which, as I said, I think many of us had already heard, but the other one as well. I mean, you really hear. I mean, not that it's a big shocker, but what an influence Buddy Holly had, on Paul. And boy, can he do a great Buddy Holly imitation. I mean, that hiccup in the the vocals, perfect. I mean, just a perfect Buddy Holly hiccup. I mean, just, so you really further understand.
Got the hiccups now.
Yeah. But really, you really get a sense of what, just how huge A
If only I
fan.
could think of some cure for the he coughs.
Oh boy. I think I can guess where that's
Here it
from.
comes.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
He's a natural when it comes to slipping those into the show.
I
You gotta
know.
try whenever you can.
But actually, I said earlier when I used to listen to the backyard tapes, and I listened to it a lot because it's only like it's less than half an hour, the whole thing. But the two Elvis Presley songs that he does, he's so natural being Elvis Presley. And We're Gonna Move, which a lot of
Right.
people might confuse with There's a Leak in This Old Building. He just does it so well.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, I wish that
Just
was
just let everybody know the 2 LP set with the 7-inch single is still available on paulmccartney.com.
Mm.
okay.
Great.
Good.
Mm.
Very good, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet
All
little
Just so Joe
It's
knows.
very good, sir. Remember,
that sweet
address
little-
me with a civil tongue.
Mhm.
He's on a roll when he gets.
Yep.
It's another one.
Uh,
All right. So, what would be, just single out a couple of songs here that were the absolute top
Oh,
your favorites of the whole collection, not counting the backyard because that's separate. Get
Oh my gosh. Soily #1. Um, you know, hands down.
yeah.
Second one, gosh, this is hard to choose. I guess I would go with My Love. I loved that version. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's always good to hear another version of My Love where
Yep.
Paul's vocals are in tip-top shape, which they
Exactly.
usually were whenever he did it live.
Exactly. Yep. So yeah, and I just loved his ad libs on that. So yep, those two.
Okay. Joe, you're on
I
the
can, I can only pick 3, huh?
Two.
Soily,
Two.
Soily. Why do you have 3? Soily, Soily.
Okay.
Junior's Farm. Hi, and 1985. I stuck another one in there. I don't know. There's more there's more than those 3 or 4.
Yeah. Tom?
there's a lot of highlights on here for me, so I can't do just 2. But absolutely Soily, absolutely My Love, absolutely 1985. Just that on the first disc. On the second disc, look, I mean, Junior's Farm, the Sally G, Tomorrow. I adore those, and and the fact that we got Denny singing opening on Wildlife. A lot of highlights on this for me.
Okay. Like I said, Soily for me. Hi. I'll throw in I'll Give You a Ring. I just
Yeah,
think
that's
Yeah.
so good doing that. Um,
You look a little lonely.
Sally
Sorry.
G, definitely in there. That would be it for me, but I love the whole thing.
All right,
This-
you guys got extra ones. 1985. That's my third. Damn it, I get an extra that.
Yeah, good. Throw more in.
Yeah.
So, when I was watching the Two Legs podcast, Andy had I think he expressed the opinion that this is kind of what we're getting to tie us over until Men on the Run comes out, and almost like to the effect that the archive collection is either dead or being put on hold. Is that how you feel about it, Tom? Because, a few years ago we saw like a note from Paul where
Oh
it went
yeah.
in the
I've
program
got that
to come.
I've got that tour program,
Yeah.
Ken,
Yeah.
and but the fact is that it's been 5 years, right? Or
Yeah.
4, for however long, and there's
Doesn't
nothing there. I
matter.
mean, that's the fact. That's the fact of the matter. I
No
mean,
matter how long it
and
is,
we're
though,
getting.
guys.
Listen, we've never had this long of a break in between archive releases.
What does that
Okay.
have to do with anything? Hey, so you know what
It's
gets me in
dead.
life, folks?
It's
You know what gets me?
dead.
You want a rant video? You know what gets me in life? People, I'm always accused of being negative. Then I get positive, and it's no good either. I don't understand there's any rule just because it's been. I mean, we can look at all kinds of things that took a long time to come out and then came out. I mean, how many years was it between the album New and the one before? Which one was before?
But that's different. That's new
This was
materials. I mean, these are budget releases or archive releases that can be released at any given moment. Really,
Well,
it's not
maybe
new material.
Maybe
You
there's
never know what
reasons,
might be,
legal reasons, or
yeah,
holdups.
what could be holding up these albums,
Yeah, but
especially.
Back in the Egg is not the only legal
I
issue
know
that he
that.
has with albums.
I
Okay.
know.
Tom, I'm giving you a
Yeah,
positive,
yeah.
Tom. I want you to feel good. I want you to
Yeah.
believe it's going to come out again.
Joe, believe me, I want these archive
I
releases
know
as
you
much
do,
as
but it
anybody
doesn't.
else.
It just.
You
It
know.
doesn't. I'm just trying to tell you. It doesn't mean they're not
Yeah.
coming out because it doesn't have to follow a thing. It's every
Yeah.
whatever it was. Every 2 years. Was it every year? Every 2 years? What
Oh,
was
it
it?
was every year for the first
Every
few years.
year.
It was
Every
like first
year.
5 years every year.
Look through
Yeah.
history. You'll find all kinds of things that changes.
I know that,
In
Joe.
10
I know
years
that, but
since a thing now, movie.
you can't
I don't
ignore the
think
fact that it's been this long without a release in between
It's okay. We
releases.
had lots of other stuff.
I don't
Mhm.
think any of us knows the real reason why this is going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Exactly.
might not
This is
just
why
be
I don't.
legal.
Yeah.
Wanted
Yeah.
your
Could be,
opinion on
Yeah.
it
could
because
be a marketing
Yeah.
reason, a commercial reason. Who knows?
That's what I'm afraid of. That let's see, what was the last one he did? Was it Flaming Pie? Was
Yep.
that the
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you'd have to look at the sales figures. I don't know, but maybe that one
Right.
didn't sell as well. I don't know.
Right.
I hope not. But I'm a country dreamer. I'm hoping that
Yes.
maybe I'm
See, I don't go
hoping
for that either. They
the
do that in
next
movies
one.
all the time and things. They say if the last one didn't sell, but they're different albums,
Yeah,
Like
I
if
know.
Right. Yeah.
True.
if Wildlife didn't sell that much, it doesn't mean, just for example,
All
Right.
right. I'll
doesn't.
tell you what. I'll tell you what. When 2028 and 2029 get here, and if we don't have those box sets yet of London Town and Back to the Egg, and all we get is the Half Speed Masters, then
Yeah.
I think we'll all can agree that it's dead.
Yep.
Yeah, well, you heard it here first, folks. It's not
That's right.
All
Mark
right.
your calendars.
dead. I hope.
you
And I
heard.
want Back to the Egg.
I don't care at this point what we get as long as we get something.
Yep.
Got to do
If
the
you
Wings
think
albums at least. Come
Mhm.
on.
if you think that this issue is dead, then why are the other solo Beatle albums coming out? The Lennon stuff, and I'm sure there's going to be Harrison stuff.
There better be.
Mhm.
Yeah, there better be.
Or else.
Well,
Yeah,
Again,
Harrison's. I wouldn't be sure of Harrison
yeah.
stuff.
mhm. But I'll
Again,
tell.
this is why I'm not the biggest fan of speculating. Okay,
Yeah,
this is
but
this. I want.
but
I just
I
want
will.
the information.
But I will say, I was one of the people that said, "Oh my God, I can't believe we're getting this," rather than Back to the Egg, London Town, fill
Uh-huh.
in the blank. But this was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this. I'm glad it's out. The remixing sounds fantastic. I'm very glad that this came out. This is a terrific addition to to the catalog, to the
Right.
collection.
Mhm.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think it was a nice surprise to have the underdub mixes this year, although it's a completely different release in its own way from this. But, and I certainly hope and pray we get a new McCartney album by the end of this year. That would be a banner year, as well as getting the documentary, Man on the Run. So, yeah, I agree with you totally, Kit. This was a fantastic release.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, look at we got the Red Rose Speedway proposed double LP. We got this. I'm hoping this starts a trend of getting stuff that had been bootlegged for years, and we're finally going to get it, one way or the other. Whether or not it's 50 years or not. I mean, and then I also heard that this could be like a publishing dump, kind of like that 63 digital release when we got all that stuff from the Beatles
Uh-huh.
during that 63. You know what I'm talking about, Ken?
Right. That was the
Oh,
19.
right.
Right. Yeah.
It was
The
Right.
copyright thing.
So, no, thank you. Not publishing, copyright thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So we're all in agreement. This was quite a nice surprise.
Oh yes, and it's essential
Yeah.
for a McCartney fan.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So that wraps up our talk on one hand clapping. So why don't we all go around and see what each of us has in store on our own shows and our own projects. Joe, we'll start with you.
Well, on Mean Mr. Mayo, my channel, I'm going to show this again because it's my latest video where I actually listened to this several times. Well, at least the main album several times, then the bonus discs a couple of times. And I talk about it. Talk about the John Lennon Mind Games Ultimate Collection, my new video. It's due to come out. I think July 12th is the date to officially come out. But I was overall pretty happy with this, although there were a couple of quibbles. that I had,
Cool.
as always, and I will discuss them if you want to hear them on my channel. Check it out. That's the main thing that I did over at Mean Mr. Mayo. And I actually I put a little video up today on my movie channel, which is called Mayo's Movie
I saw
Mayhem.
that.
And what a desperate, right, Tom? What a desperate excuse for a video, huh? But I don't know.
It
Anyway,
was
it's a
very
2 minute
entertaining, anyways.
it's a 2 minute video on my Mayo's Movie Mayhem channel. All right, so I think that's it at this time for me right now. But this took a lot, of time and everything to listen to. And the shrink wrap, look at it, it's like
Mm.
falling off. Darn it! I like to have it the shrink on my stuff. So
No, I
Very
appreciate it. I
nice.
appreciate that you took the time to listen to it and review it and give your honest opinions. And sometimes you feel like when you get these special gifts, and you want to treat it with the respect, and you want to be positive about it. But like you said, Joe, I mean, if you have little quibbles about it, you should be honest about it.
yeah, it's that's what I try to do. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, if he receives it as a gift, he's just going to
Right.
be praising it to the hilt," which overall I do. But there are some things that I was disappointed with. But overall, not to spoil anything, but I do recommend it because it's a new way to listen to this album. For the good, the
Mhm.
positive.
Mm.
We're going to be talking about that pretty soon when we review the box set.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be later. Yep, we will.
Can't
Yeah.
wait.
I always say I prefer it when someone takes the time to really listen instead of rushing to judgment, and just listen
Right.
once or
Oh, this retiree had a lot of time to to listen to this.
okay.
Uh, and Susan just asked in the comments, Joe, have you found all the hidden tracks yet? No, I have not. And even if I found them, I can't access them. Which I'll talk a little about that, in
Mhm.
the
Mm.
video.
Okay. Tom, I know you've got a lot of
All
things
right.
as you always do.
Yeah, well, we we just did that interview, like you said so many times during the show, Ken. Thank you for that, for acknowledging that. We did this wonderful interview with Adrian Sinclair about one hand clapping. Now, obviously, you don't want to spill all the beans about it. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more to read about it in when Volume 2 comes out, because that's when um December, I think, of this year, they plan on releasing Volume 2, and that's going to be taking place during the first year of that book. So I can't wait to learn more and find out what they've learned about one hand clapping, especially with this release. My interest has really peaked on they've got exact dates, that they've got track listings, they know when was recorded and what wasn't recorded. So I'm really looking forward to that. Then this past week, Andy and I, we celebrated our 250th episode. Now, obviously, we've done more videos than that, but this was of the actual Two Legs podcast. This was our 250th episode, and I gotta say, I'm really thank you to the bottom of my heart for my three colleagues here for joining, and other friends and fans like Joan Borelli, Kyle Han, Ed Crawford. There's a few others here that I don't want to start mumbling and trying to remember everything, but they all joined us, and I wasn't expecting to go live for 3 hours. It just happened. We had a great time talking, and it was a lot of fun. And all three of you have played a part, in the history of Two Legs. So thank you very much, and thank you to all the fans and listeners that have commented and said nice things about the show. We're going to next week, or this week at some point, we will be reviewing One Hand Clapping. We're talking about doing that live, maybe on a Thursday night. So looking forward to that. And I did make an appearance on the Ranking the Beatles podcast, which I can't wait for that to come out, because I talked about one of my favorite Beatles songs on that episode, and that should be up by the end of the month. And I'll talk about more of that when it is officially out. But thank you again. Go to Two Legs Podcast on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe. If you want to reach out to us, go to twolegspodcast@gmail.com and leave us a note or an idea for a show if you have one. And we'll do that from time to time.
Okay. I'm
Excellent.
even more curious now about the McCartney Legacy book, Volume 2, because
Yeah.
at
Yep.
the beginning of 74, I'm wondering how
Yeah.
much they'll be on the Begeer sessions, because that's right at the beginning of
Oh, they'll be there. that'll
Oh,
be
I'm
there.
sure it will be.
Yeah.
But and Adrian was also saying that the biggest volume of all the volumes in the
Right.
book is about Nashville. A lot
Right.
down there. It's going to be pretty fascinating to know, the problems that the band had when they stayed there in June of 70.
Hmm.
Or yeah. Kit, how about you?
Okay, well, before I get to my stuff, of course, thank you guys as always for your support. We've gotten some suggestions from you guys about albums you'd like us to review, and please keep and another listen and so forth. Please keep those suggestions coming. Really appreciate it. So you can find us, of course, right here on this YouTube channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We're getting close to the 2000, and we want to hit that 2000 mark. So
Yes.
please keep
That
it
high note.
going. A what?
We want to hit that high note.
Yes, we want to hit
Yeah.
that high note. Exactly.
You're muted, Joe.
Yep. So please help us hit that 2000 subscriber level. So please do that. Tell your friends. You can also find us on Facebook. Just hit that like button on our Facebook page and you'll be notified of all our future episodes. You can find us on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Talk More Talk 1, the number 1. You can find us on the web at talkmoretalk.com, and you can reach us at talkmoresolotalk@gmail.com. As always, we welcome your feedback, suggestions for future shows, all that stuff. So please keep in touch. So as far as I go, a couple of things to share. We have more episodes of Toppermost the Poppermost that are coming out right now. Our June 1964 episodes, and really excited to share that one of the I think it's the side A of June 1964, we had a very special guest join us, Jim Birkenstadt. Who is, of course, celebrating the publication of the new edition of his terrific book, The Beatle Who Vanished, about, of course, Jimmy Nicol, and it's a great
Great.
great book. And this isn't just a new edition where it's just like a couple little things he added. It's a lot of new additions to it. I mean, it's well worth picking up, including, did he find Jimmy Nicol? You have to pick up the book and find out. So and so the episode that the reason we had him on was we talked about the 1964 tour that, of course, Jimmy Nicol joined them on, had to sub at the last minute. So he came on our show, talked all about it. And so if you go to toppermostofthepoppermost.net, you can find that episode as well as side B, and side C is coming soon. We talk about the British, American, and American charts, and we have to divide them into different episodes because there's so many songs to talk about. So you can find those new episodes there. Also, July 2nd, I'm going to be back on our friend Ken Womack's record club at Monmouth University talking about Ram. So I'm really looking forward to that. So I will post the place where, the link where you can register. It's absolutely free on our Facebook page, on my Facebook page. And so hope you'll join me. That's July 2nd, 7:30 Eastern. Ken and I will take you through Ram and all, a sampling of all the terrific tracks on there. Can't wait to discuss it with you. I know all of you out there, I'm sure, we've all heard it a lot of times, but we are going to, but hopefully we will uncover some, information about it, and hopefully, have you listen to it in a different way. So I think those are the, and I have a new cicada video up on my Facebook page by popular demand. So if you're if you're a Facebook friend, check it out.
Is that going to be archived? Do you know, or is it just that one night only?
It is going to be archived. If you register for it and you can't make it, you can send an email. I'll tell you where to
Okay.
send.
You better. My mic was off. You better make sure you watch kids. Kids. Wow, kids. Cicadas video. Okay, kid.
I
Because
answered a kid. That's
because
okay.
it's gonna be about 17 years or so before the next video on cicadas. So.
That's exactly. We're almost done. So
I was saying that I got no laugh or smile. And I'm saying what? And I'm realizing the mic is muted.
crickets. You heard crickets or cicadas.
Crickets. It's quieter.
Yeah, right.
All right. Thanks to the three of you. As for me, if you want to get in touch with me, my email address is everylittlething@att.net. You can always friend me on Facebook at Ken Michaels. And as for my other shows, things we said today, the most recent one that we did was actually going back to an idea that I do on my own channel, Ken Michaels Radio, and I have Fab Five show, where I asked both Darren DeVivo and Alan Kozin to pick their go-to albums for today, for this moment, from each of the solo Beatles and from the Beatles as a group. And that's the things we said today on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to that. We're going to be doing a new show next week where we're going to be reviewing. Where is it? One hand clap.
Hey!
Plenty of clapping all around.
There you go.
On my YouTube channel, Ken Michaels Radio, I just had a guest on, Al Romas. Save that for later.
Yeah.
You're spoiling it for everybody. Big finish plan, and you messed it up, Tom.
I did it first. I'm guilty.
Yeah, it was Joe.
Joe's fault.
I'll take
started
the blame.
it.
All right.
We'll cut this part out.
Special guest on my channel, Al Romas. And Al used to go to college with me at the New York Institute of Technology. Way back when, 1983. And when I first started doing my Beatles show, I started doing it alone. And then I had a co-host for a year, Ed Ryan, who's been on my channel. And when he left, I didn't know if I would continue doing the show all by myself. I got so used to having a co-host, and all of a sudden I just felt so alone and deserted. So anyway, I asked a few friends of mine to try co-hosting, and Al was one of them. He did a great job, and he's gone on to be a stand-up comedian. And so he does a number 9 Dream show. John is his favorite Beatle. He wanted to do one on John. So you can see me with my old co-host from 1983 for a few shows. And there'll be more
Does he do a comedy routine? Does he do a comedy routine on that?
No, he doesn't. Because there's no way I can hold a candle to him in that department. I'll just let him take over. It'd be Ronnie Dangerfield on the channel for all I care. But anyway, on Every Little Thing, make sure that you go to WFDU's page, WFDU in New Jersey, Fairleigh Dickinson University's college radio station. Actually, they're an oldies station. The whole week, they have all kinds of great programming. And they run my Beatles show, Every Little Thing, there, but they also post 2 weeks worth of Every Little Thing available on demand in their archives at WFDU.FM. So check that out. On my website, kenmichaelsradio.com, of course, you've got the periodic Beatles trivia. This is my latest prize. It's called I Am Myself. That is the new compilation of Tom Evans demos. 21 in total that you could win. As a prize, you'll recall that just recently I gave away the new Pete Ham demos called Gwent Gardens. And I'm also going to be giving away, maybe in a week or two, there's a Badfinger tribute CD that came out, a double disc of Badfinger covers. So if you're a Badfinger fan, in addition to being a Beatle fan, you might want to check out my website, kenmichaelsradio.com, and there's all kinds of great prizes that I give away on that page. For many years, giving away songs we were singing as a book, Kit's book, fine book right there. There's all kinds of good stuff you can win on the website. And if you can, please subscribe. Ken Michaels Radio, things we said today, Talk More Talk, Two Legs, Mean Mr. Mayo, Toppermost of the Poppermost. Our entire network here, which is all that you need for all your Beatles education.
Right.
All right. So thanks to all of you. We're going to end, all four of us, with the sound of one hand clapping. There you go. And I'm going to close by saying happy birthday tomorrow to
Yes.
Paul McCartney, to the man
Cheers.
who plays the game of life so well. Happy birthday, Paul,
Cheers.
and we'll see you